Current River State Park's getting some. That's in Shannon County.
Right.
Echo Bluff's getting some. And Roaring River. I looked through the process there yesterday and the day before to see who's getting that. You know, I am currently still working on a process to hopefully get Montauk some funding that was not put in the budget, but it is a process. I'm going to continue to request that with the senator and the commissioners here locally also are on board with that. They're improving coming in the back way to Montauk, so
Right.
that's an asset that they're working on. I think West Mowbray got a grant for
Got a
that.
flap grant, right?
So that I commend them for being able to do that and working for that project, and they're working with me with the DNR to get that done. So it is a process. Nothing happens overnight up there. But that was States and Parks. House Bill 18 is capital improvements over state agency buildings like the Capitol and all the state buildings throughout the state. That's an upkeep. We need to make
Sure.
sure we maintain them buildings. House Bill 19 is critical capital improvements throughout the state, and this is one of the bills where you get to request funding for things, capital improvements in your district. And, this is being up there first, this is this third year, let's see, I guess going on the third year I've been up there. And it's a process, and you have to go ask the budget chair, you have to ask the senators, and you have to find out if you can get the support. And I was able to get in an item in the budget this year for the first time, which I feel blessed, But my process is that you hear these other representatives getting 20 million, 30 million, 200 million, and I'm just wondering why, it doesn't come here. So, them are the things that I'm working on. But on the capital improvements bill, there's a lot of health agencies in our district.
Right.
I've been meeting with there's 5 different health agencies in our district that provide us essential services for this thing. And the hospital came to me, and what caught me about the hospital, they were looking for grant money, right? They were just
Right.
asking me, how can we get grant money? Well, talking to Senator Brown and some other senators, they said, why can't we ask for that in the capital improvement budget? And that's kind of free money without a grant process, which I as a rep can ask for. So through the process, I kind of looked at the need and what the county would need and what I felt was important and what I thought people in the community was important. And I feel the hospital is one of our most important health agencies in the district, not putting anything apart from everything else. With the other health departments here in Dent County do a phenomenal job, but I feel sometimes we look at the nice new shiny bright
new nickel, yeah.
new nickel and think we go for that. I use an example as churches do a new nice new auditorium, new sanctuary, and they got a roofy leak because it's nice and shiny,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
And we need to. I'm a kind of old school, I guess. I'm thinking I love the nice and shiny new nickel, but our hospital has been here in this community, providing service for the community, and I feel that should be the first need that I'm looking at. We don't want to, and they provide services that other health agencies do not.
Right.
They got emergency room, they've got ambulance, which in ambulance they lose money on that.
Right.
You know,
Inpatient services.
And the inpatient services, they got long-term health care. They provide a service that we definitely do not need. And as everybody knows, there was a little bump in the road with the Salem Hospital in the past few years. I've been watching that, talking to the board if they need something and whatnot. And I feel these capital improvements, which is like the roof and some sewer issues and some major capital improvements, they're doing very well, I think, with the medical issues that they have to provide.
Right.
But I felt that, this $1 million that I'm requesting in the budget from the state to go for the capital improvements would be a outstanding investment for the community to keep our hospital running and provide a service for the other health departments in the area. So, that's where that comes from. I want to support all the other health agencies here, going forward. There's other requests that I'm going to push for, in the future to help that out, them out. But I think at this point in time, they asked me what I wanted or what they thought was the most important. I also, there's other requests, and I requested that them be put in budget as well. I did not not ask for them things. I mean, I think there's rumor out there saying I didn't support other issues, but I did support them. They just asked me which one was my priority.
Right.
And I felt the hospital, nobody in the community, we don't need to lose our hospital.
No.
You know,
No.
I mean, so I just want to put that out there, let everybody know I support our health agencies here because it provides a service that we really need to keep here.
You know, one of the things, Ron, and you had an opportunity to actually sit on the Denton County Health Department's board meeting, which, you know, I don't even know when the last time a state representative actually sat in on one of their board meetings, and you've done that with other agencies as well, getting a first-hand knowledge of what actually is going on. And because you really don't understand what's going on in day-by-day operations, you really need to know what's find out in the guts of the problem. And the only way you're going to find out the guts of the problem is going to board meetings and hearing everything. And I commend you for doing that because you're not going to get a first-hand experience by not doing it firsthand.
Well, and like I'll give Jason Smith kudos for that. You know, he told me that, you know, legislation part is this, but getting out and seeing what's in your community is a vital need to know what we need, right? So, I mean, I've visited the treatment center here locally because they reopened. I've visited Four Rivers. I've visited Denton County Health Center. And I've learned each time I go to them what they provide to our community, right?
Sure.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I was very naive about what our Denton County Health Department provided for our community. I mean, I was really lacking in that information. But you got to remember, I was a trooper for 28
Sure.
years. If you want to know about the law, I can tell you. I was thinking about this the other day. I get 120 emails every day. By the time I get back Monday, if I don't check my emails, I'll have 250 emails about how to vote, and this is an issue, this is a concern, this is a grant information that gets out there. So trying to broaden that information is overwhelming. But my problem is I'm all in and I can't rest. So it's one of those things.
But to learn every day what is needed, like you said, you were never exposed to that as a trooper. So, you know, when you had a chance to go out and visit at the hospital and see what their needs were, and you got a chance to talk to different people and you met different departments, that's how you find out what is actually needed, and you can see for yourself what's going on. You're not being told something and you're sitting in Jeff City and somebody says, hey, we need this or we need that. You actually have an opportunity to sit there, see it for yourself, get the background information on how long it's been. You know, our hospital's been here since the 60s, so, you know, different things start to wear out after a while.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it's like we all wear out after a while from the 60s. I get it. You know, one of the things that you were able to do, though, is actually hear the whole story of this is where we are, this is what we're doing. You know, and you heard the same thing at the Denton County Health Department. You got a chance to hear their board and actually saw some history about different things that they had from original minutes from years back in the 60s. So, you know, you see how long these things have been around, and you have to be amazed that they get by on whatever they have to do to get by. And a lot of times it's with the assistance of our state representatives and state senators. It's just great. But sometimes it's just local programs that they provide that you may not have any knowledge of.
And I agree with that. And what we forget, you know, we all bash on lobbyists about this and that. Usually lobbyists or paid people or consultants go up and lobby for the need, right? Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes, you know, we have organizations like the health department and the hospital, they just go out and work every day, work really hard for what they do, but they don't get involved in the political process, right?
Right.
And after this is going on my third year, I've realized that may be my job as a representative to reach out to kind of figure out what the need is for these organizations that work hard that don't come and lobby us. There's all kinds of lobbyists for every organization out there, and they pay that person to come up and tell me what's going on, you know, and I take their information, and then I go to the other side and get the other side information. You know, I got an email this week that says, hey, you're going to add this amendment about a school, some school stuff, right? And I'm thinking, no, I'm not, right? So I says, no, I'm not. Here's what I was going to do is I got one side of the story, and I'm working on the other side of the story to get the other part to see where the middle ground would be, because there is an issue with what we're talking about, the amendment that I need to add. But I want consistency, and I want to figure out what both sides would kind of agree on a consistency basis, instead of this one gets this or this one gets it. This one wants all of it, right? And this one wants the other side.
Sure.
So it's like, so that's how rumors get going. And I say, no, that's not true. I'm working on consistency issue, so everybody knows what's going on, because it's an issue that they can charge this place, they can charge this place, things. So there's different ways they can charge something. So, and it is an issue that needs to be addressed. But then with how things go, and that's why, I've met with school superintendents, K-8s. I've met with here locally with superintendents here on occasion. I talk to the school board people whenever I have an issue. I mean, how do I know what's true and what's not? Because everybody has their own story. What do they say? You hear this story, here's story, and the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle.
So that's where we're at on that. So, but I want to support what's best for the community. I don't get personally involved. I try to make the best decision for the whole. We can go out for an example. Open enrollment's a big deal. I personally don't have a problem with open enrollment, but I look at my district and what will it do to the school districts. Our schools have to provide education to all students, no matter what, or what level, what capabilities they have, and if we start open enrollment, will that affect the schools that have to take care of everybody? And there's a lot of issues that get into that, but I personally don't have a problem with that. But I don't vote that way because I think our school districts here might be negatively affected by that. So that's how I want to vote, I want to represent instead of my own personal issue on that.
Well, and I'm not going to go off on this too much because I don't have all the details that you do, I'm sure, on the open enrollment. But when I hear the ad that I hear, and I hear it on the radio, it's the 3 districts that got declassified and decertified that have open enrollment: Normandy, St. Louis, Kansas City. All of them at one time did not pass their MSIPs. Therefore, they allowed open enrollment. Now they have since all gotten better, but once the open enrollment was allowed, it's been allowed.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, you look at the inner cities and urban and rural areas. I think in the urban or rural areas do a phenomenal job compared to the inner cities, because I know teachers that taught up there, and they say, I wouldn't send my kids here because of this. And we'll get back to this personal thing, is I think it's discipline. You get kicked out at R80, you get kicked out at R80. I mean, there's nothing. So we get into that. So there is some benefits. I just don't want to. 3% of the people's going to use open enrollment will it affect the other 97%?
But you know how it would affect everybody tax-wise. The districts would be hurt tax-wise if they lose people.
Yeah, well, and if we can get into the weeds on that, is if R80 would have open enrollment and they would take a student from R3, the way I understand it, R3 gets to keep their local tax base on that student, right? So R80's taking that kid and they're getting the state proportion, but then the local people have to pay the extra for that extra student to be there.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of more into it than just an open enrollment bill. And it's, like I said, a chess game. How many pieces are moving in that one bill? It's not just I get to go to the school.
It's just not as clear cut as they make it sound.
And you get into that same thing. I was in committee yesterday before I come home. We had a bill and they added 8 bills to the one bill, in committee. I'm thinking, so you have to sit down and go through that, each one of them before you vote and go through that, so.
Yeah, that happens quite a bit in Jeff City. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the public transportation House bill that's been out there. That's been talking about that. Well, we all know that MRPC has been trying to work with public transportation here in this area. It's very difficult. Yeah. So, what is the House bill trying to do here?
Well, I think the House, I know that there's not a House bill for that. I think some budgetary items. The House bill we're talking about that I had written down was House Bill 282, and it's a public transit transportation thing on the Second Amendment. They're going to allow you to carry on public transit, for your Second Amendment rights. So that was just another little thing that, for Second Amendment, if I can't carry it from here to here, there's both sides of that. Should we allow people to carry a gun on public transit? So that did go through the House. There's also something about churches, not without, right now there's limitations on who can carry in a church and whatnot like that. There still has that ability to deny that with certain criteria, but so it's not a free for all. It's just something else that was talked about.
Okay, so being able to carry on buses.
Yes. they're
Amtrak, things of that nature. Okay.
Well, Amtrak would be probably, that's one exemption. I think there's a federal issue with that.
Okay.
So they exempted Amtrak, but you were talking about St. Louis Transit, maybe Kansas City Transit buses type things.
Okay. Very good. All right. Catalytic converter.
Oh yeah, Don Mayhew,
Okay.
Representative Don
Good old
Mayhew.
Don. All right.
Good old Don Mayhew.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well,
bill.
yeah, he's very adamant about this. You know, the numbers that came out about Cadillac converters being stolen in Missouri is astronomical.
It is.
And you know, all they're trying to do on this bill is the purchaser having some responsibility. If I bring you 150 catalytic converters, you as the purchaser, hold on here. You know, we gotta think about this. Where'd you get 150 catalytic converters? You know, and you have a 1976 pickup truck. You know, I guess I'm stereotyping or profiling a little bit. I shouldn't do that. But you know, it just says the purchaser, if you're bringing in 10 catalytic converters every week, the purchaser should realize maybe there's something up with this, because how many legally catalytic converters can you get? You know, some of them catalytic converters I think can be $500-$600.
Well, more than that.
But this bill is trying to limit it to where you have to provide ownership type things, or what vehicle came off and things like that. So it's just trying to reduce the people that buy it, not to keep them from buying it, but just if I have no place to sell it, I can't steal it and take it off and sell it. And I think that, I don't think it's hit Salem too awful bad, but some other places it hits pretty bad.
Well, and you do realize catalytic converters are not required in Salem, in the area, because we don't have sniff tests on our, that's only in St. Louis and Kansas City, Columbia, and Springfield are, the only ones that I know of that actually in your inspection that you actually have to get a sniff test. So if you don't have a catalytic converter in Dane County, you're okay to even get an inspection. It doesn't make any difference. Of course, they normally do tell you your catalytic converter's going bad or whatever. I had to get one replaced on a vehicle. It was $700 some odd dollars.
Yeah.
So they're not cheap, absolutely, and they get stolen quite a bit. There's some House bills on public safety.
Yeah, there's some big House bills on public safety. We can go. This is going to be hours of talking on that, but there are some public safety bills. They address some issues in St. Louis. The prosecutor up there, some issues they're having up there.
Oh, yeah.
The St. Louis Police Department coming out of the control hands of the alderman and mayor to try to take some political stuff out of that. There's some bail reform stuff. There's a lot of stuff involved in the public safety bill that goes on and on and on, and that's in House Bill 1108 is one. There's some Senate bills as well. I mean, if you wanted to, on my Facebook page, you can go to or my Capitol report. I put that in weekly, and you can go to them bills on the house.mo.gov page and look at more involved in them, if you're interested in the public safety issues.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yes, there really is. A lot.
A lot of stuff. Well, a lot of stuff going down. Now, on the federal side, we're all hearing about this, and you're hearing about it on Sports Center, and you're hearing about it on AP News and everywhere else, and in virtually every paper you see, is the transgender situation with sports, and also other transgender situations that are coming up about children and making the decisions. Where is the state working on that, on the Transgender Act? I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there, right?
Yeah, there is. There's a lot. There's House Bill 419 and House Bill 183 actually passed out of the House and was sent to the Senate.
Okay.
And basically, the transgender hormone treatment and the actual surgeries, basically, all that bill does says is that you can't make that decision until you're 18. I mean, I think that. You got both sides that are very adamant about this, but there's testimony where kids come in that got transgendered when they're 12 and 13, and now they're 20 and they regret doing that surgery, but they really didn't have that ability to make that decision. Mm-hmm. We don't allow people to make decisions. They're not adults till they're 18, right?
Right.
I mean, so, and I sat on one of those committees and I listened to the testimony, there was a father there that I was heartfelt for. I mean, because he seemed like a father like me, and he was going through this, that his child thought they were a sex that they weren't. I mean, it really tugged at my heart, because I don't know what I would do if that happened, right? Mm-hmm. But I definitely wouldn't allow it to happen until they're 18 to make that decision, right? we also had in that same committee, we had a parent and a husband and wife come up and said their 21-year-old son come and told them they thought they were a girl. I mean, that really took back from me, because does a 21-month-old really even know what a sex is?
Yeah.
I mean, so is it a push from a parent that thinks that, and not allowed? But I think this transgender bill that we passed out of the House, and there's one come from the Senate, similar bill, that would just say you can't do it till you're 18. Now, that doesn't keep a doctor from giving medicine if you're having thought process. If they're going through a hormone issues and your hormones are crazy and you feel like you're a boy or a girl, I think you can be treated with that until you're 18, and because they claim suicide is a big rate, and we don't want a kid to commit suicide if they're feeling that way, right?
Sure.
So, but do you have to transition and take mutilation parts and change everything in your body when you're going through that process? So I think there's a period that when you're 18, I still don't understand that, why you would want to do that, but if you're 18 and you make that decision, you're an adult, right? So that's what that one is. And House Bill 183 is basically to protect girls from boys playing sports. I mean, I don't know why there's any controversy on this in a roundabout way, because it's not,
Well, I think that the controversy is, and I was trying to listen to this a little bit last night, and I caught a little bit of it, is not all sports should be worried about it. And I said, okay. And I'm thinking about, all right, swimming, yes, obviously football, soccer, something of that nature, where the physical attributes could be a lot different. But if I'm participating in chess or checkers like you're talking about, what difference does it make if I'm a girl or a boy?
I agree with that part. I agree with that part.
So, but it was all encompassing. It was either all one way or all the other. And I think that's where some of the controversy is coming into, because the House bill passed in the U.S. legislature had it all or nothing. It was no in between. See, if you were a boy and you got transgendered into a girl, you cannot participate in women's sports.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to just be reasonable about this, but it's just like it's all or nothing, and that's I think that's what causes the issues, parts of the issue. Now, I know the House bill also allows up to a certain age playing physical sports. I mean, up to sixth grade, fifth, sixth grade, the physical attributes don't kick in and hormones. No. So it's not like you can't play basketball at that age with a girl and a boy. I mean, but I the confusion to me is, and this is my personal belief, but just because you identify as something doesn't make you that kind of person. And I'm not being mean. I mean, somebody says I identify as handsome and good looking, right? So you have to say that about me, and that's not, just because you identify, I don't have to agree. I don't have to agree with that. You can be that way. I don't care, but I don't have to.
Right.
But
I think I heard somewhere the other day, and it says, "Well, so you can be Captain America if you want to be."
Well, I mean,
it's up to you how you want to dress and how you want to look. You can do whatever you want to do.
I just don't know how we got here. I mean, it's if they want to do that, let them do that. Mm-hmm. But why do you have to make me play your game?
Yeah.
I don't.
I get what you're, and I agree with that.
You can do that. I mean, if you want to wear a pink shirt, I don't care. But why do you say I have to accept that pink, I have to wear a pink shirt too and agree with that?
No,
and
that's what I said.
That's
the individuality. They don't realize there's individuality on both sides. Hey, if there's a macho guy and a guy that's not so macho, they both have to understand that they're different. So
on a golf course, we have a women's tee-off box, a male. We have that for a reason. Yeah. I mean, they've proven that is what to make it fair, right? Mm-hmm. So they put them up farther, right?
Sure.
It's because they don't have the strength. So that just makes sense. I don't know why we're trying to change what makes sense. Something, but we can move on to that. But I think we do need to protect women's sports. Girls or females that work hard cannot compete a male, and that's being proven that these ladies are losing the swimming, for example, and the other wrestling and MMA boxers and stuff like that are transitioning. It's proven that there's a few of them that are moderate or medium level athletes as a male, mm-hmm. and they excel in the female field. And I think I'm starting to see more women now step up and say, we don't believe in this. And that's what it's going to take. I think the women are going to have to say, this is not right. You know, they go through a process and they're just going to say, this ain't right for us. And we as the state legislator need to say, no, you're not going to compete against my daughter that's competing for a scholarship, you know, or even going. But I think we're stepping up and doing the right thing. Hopefully this will get through the House, through the Senate, and see what the governor does on it. So
I don't think it's solved by any way, shape, or form.
no, there's always going to be two sides, but you know, it's really, if they really sit down and think about it, they think they really know that it's not fair.
All right, SB 51.
Physical therapy bill, basically, you know, it alleviates you having to go to a doctor to get prescribed to go to a physical therapist. If you have certain criteria and meeting so much years of service and you get so many visits, and if it's not fixed, they have to refer them to a doctor. So it doesn't take all the restrictions off of it. Okay. It just takes that initial thing is if you know you're going to need a physical therapist, you don't have to go pay a doctor bill and him refer you, you know. Most of the time I would go to my doctor anyway to get the referral. I mean, so it just kind of alleviates, especially with our shortage of doctors and nurse practitioners in some of these rural areas. You might have a physical therapist that you can go to take care of some of them needs. It was just a basic, and that's been in the House several years to try to fix.
Do you see it passing?
You know, it may pass, especially with the way the atmosphere is as far as doctors in these rural areas, trying to keep them there and provide a service that's needed. That you can't have a doctor in that area or whatnot. So
let's talk a little bit about the historic tax credit.
Oh yeah, there's a tax credit out there that came in. I can't know the exact amount. That's House Bill 316. It provides a tax credit for people who want to, you know, if you're redoing the courthouse as a historic building,
like they're doing right now.
Yeah, you know, if you wanted to donate 50,000 of that, it would give you a tax credit back for that, for your taxes to donate to. So I think that's a good tax credit. You know, some people hate tax credits. You know, we pick winners and losers, but when you get into, you know, historic or entrepreneur or food pantry tax credits, stuff like that, I think that's a service that people want to donate to. You know, if they donate 50,000, they get the tax credit back, and it helps the community as a whole instead of just paying for it. You know, the community gets part of and gets to contribute.
You know, we see a lot of that in like the youth opportunity programs where they get the YOP tax credits to invest in things like our construction trades building. You know, you get your tax credits because it's going to help out.
And I'll be honest with you.
Future.
You know, if I would have been on my game, and I'm still learning, you know, it's really difficult. I went to that meeting about when they trying to raise money for that. You know, if I would have known, I could ask for money for my food pantry. And I found out that the Texas County Food Pantry is getting funding right from our budget. I mean, it's just such a massive process, and I'm learning. You know, by the time 8 years is up, I hope to be very, very fluent in doing things right. If people want to keep me here, right?
Yeah, right.
If they don't, they don't. I mean, I have no problem with that either. I mean, I'm here to support you, and I hope they support me. But
you can't know everything when you walk in the door.
But it's just so difficult because I want to make sure, like what I do with my commissioners. When I see a grant come through, I forward it to them, right? And say, I don't know if you apply, or could you forward this to the people in your community? I mean, I tried to fix that. The first year, I tried to do it all. Send it to every food pantry or whatever, right? Or every fire department.
Sure.
So my goal is to make sure that our commissioners, and I've done that this past week, I sent several grant things to our presiding commissioner, current appointed presiding commissioner Gary Larson, and Wes Mowbray, Commissioner Wes, about some grant funding that's coming out, this historic grant thing coming. I says, you guys might want to share that with somebody in the community, because I can't know like Cuba, and I can't know all that, right?
Sure.
So I hope I use them as a resource to help the community, you know, and hopefully we work together to get that done, you know, as we go forward.
Because they are doing that work on the courthouse now, and there's got to be a lot more work done.
And I think some of that come from the ARPA money that they used and some of the different things that they did. So, I mean, that is a good thing, you know, but that's something else. If there's a historic vehicle building or something in town that we want to do, that somebody's passionate about. I know when I worked in Shannon County, Greg Rowden, the Sinclair guy, they were trying to do a school down there, and I said, well, you know, is it historic? Yeah, so they may actually apply for a historic grant to help with that building. I mean, it's just... since them kind of things, and that's the information I want to send to
Well,
them.
we have William Lynch Elementary. That's an historic building.
I mean, so yeah, I mean,
you know, so hopefully that's
just
maybe the schools can take a look at that. And,
I mean, so we'll figure that out part.
Very good. There's a House joint resolution out there for the right to.
Oh yeah, I'm just kind of that was. I was kind of taken back on that one as the right to hunt.
Yeah.
I mean, so they just want to send it to the people to say we have the right to hunt. Like, I guess several years back they had a House Joint Resolution, a right to farm, you know, and that came through the thing. So, I mean, it's just saying that we have the right to hunt, and they can't take. It still gives conservation, and it just gives rules and regulations on that. It doesn't say a free for all to hunt, but they're just saying it's a constitutional right to do that. So, I mean. HJRs are, you know, we put something in the Constitution, and it's kind of, so.
Okay, so we have a couple House bills on there for personal privacy.
Yeah, you know, that's a big issue right now is your personal privacy. Make sure that, you know, you got all these agencies trying to protect your privacy if you pay a fee, whatnot. But they're just trying to make sure our state agencies don't release information on personal privacy. There's still rules and regulations on that, but they want to tighten that up so certain things aren't taken from. I know one in judiciary, they're trying to get CaseNet, some information not to be put on CaseNet on juveniles because, you know, they come back and haunt you.
Oh, yeah.
So we're always trying to keep the information out there, right? But we don't want to put too much. I know that we heard a bill the other day about school boards, Secretary of State has to have a list of school board members, right? Right now, but it only has school board members, their tenure, what school, and when they expire, right?
Okay.
That's it. It's not phone numbers, not nothing.
No contact information.
No. So if you want R3s or R80s school board members, you don't know who they are. So, so-and-so's on there. So then you can find out and go farther, right? But they just think that's a way to keep transparency so people know, right? Because most people, I'm not saying bad, but I'd say how many people do you think know who the school board members on R80 are?
I do.
You do. But if we want to take a microphone out in Salem and ask, and I'm not bashing on anybody, but
maybe I know 2 or 3.
Yeah, but you know, but so this way, if they want to know who's on there, it's easy access. So that's, and then the others are just to protect issues, phone numbers and judiciary processes that they got because they're getting threats of judiciary for certain things. They're just trying to squeeze that in, not let the information out, but just to kind of protect it so it's not so easily taken, especially with Facebook and how people do stuff on that.
You know, years ago, Ryan, if anybody remembers when the internet first came on and Highway Patrol started posting incident reports, crash reports.
Yes.
Juveniles' names were issued just like anybody else at 3, 4, 5 years old.
Yeah.
They were put on there, and even what happened to them. So if somebody would have, you know, let's say, for example, there was a fatal accident for somebody 3 or 4 years old, somebody could get that information off that Highway Patrol report, could go look up all that information and actually change an identity.
Yeah.
Based upon that crash report. So
I think we're learning.
Yeah. So they've taken that out. You know, there's anything 16 and under, you're juvenile, male or female, and that's it.
Yep.
So there's been repairs done to it, but you know, it takes a while. We have to learn from our mistakes. It's always kind of been the way.
Yeah.
You know, let's talk a little bit about animal chiropractic.
So everybody's sitting down on this one, right?
Yeah.
So this is what we do in Jeff City. So,
Yeah,
so this is one of the most important things you guys are going to hear today.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm being kind of sarcastic on this.
I know you are.
But I guess there's a bill with animal chiropractic, and I'm not bashing on chiropractors or anything, but they're going to allow vets and chiropractors to work on animals. I mean, I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently, you know, it is. And it's just a bill, I guess, that had to be done to allow that to be done. I mean, so this is going to get into.
It was being done anyway.
Yeah. So now I don't know if it's paid or insurance pays it, but it's just given some authority to do that. So, I mean, if you look at all the subjects that we've talked about already, right, how broad it is from chiropractic to transgender to hospitals and all that stuff. It's very overwhelming.
My own feeling is it's just that the state recognizes that animal chiropractic is a real thing.
Oh, yes. I agree with that. I mean,
you know, and I think a lot of times, you know, for years ago, I'm talking a lot of years ago, and even probably as late as the 50s and 60s, chiropractors were not considered a good medicine,
I
bad
agree.
mojo. And back in the 20s and 30s, if you went to a chiropractor, it's like going to a witch doctor, it was kind of crazy. And times have changed.
Oh, the
And
best, definitely.
we all find out that there's different things that work. Chiropractic, if it works for humans, it's going to work for animals. So,
Yeah.
the thing is, though, if it's not recognized by the state, I doubt if anybody who has, let's say, insurance on a horse, maybe it's a thoroughbred horse and they need to have an adjustment. They probably can't get
Yeah.
it done.
I'm with you. I couldn't imagine trying to figure out how to do a horse.
I couldn't
chiropractor.
either. I'm not. I'm not a.
But no,
I'm not a chiropractor. Either.
Obviously, it's a need. Otherwise, it wouldn't have come up to Jeff City. And like you said, it just authorize or recognize it as a legitimate issue that needs to be addressed.
So tell us a little bit about what's left in the session. I know we have some time left in the session. What do you see moving forward from here? Obviously a lot of conversations and
right
and
now
and kind of maneuvering, right?
Right now, what you have is not necessarily stalemate, but the Senate's sending bills over. We're sending to the House, and now we're trying to figure out if the Senate's going to hear our bills and are we going to hear the Senate's bills. I mean, they're going through committees. I think some of these other I don't know how some of the important bills that are going to, like the transgender bill, the House has one, the Senate has one. I think that will pass, right? I don't know what form it's going to come out because the Senate bill has some different language in it. Some people that's already transitioning, they're allowing that to happen, right? Mm-hmm. And they have a sunset in it. And the House is like, well, why do we have a sunset in something when we feel it's wrong for the child? And that's where so that's going to be a discrepancy that we're going to have to decide on, right?
Okay. Will
it pass without that? I don't know. So, petition initiative is another bill that has been held up on both sides. There's good petition initiative bills. If anybody knows what that is it's basically, I think it's given the voters more power than what they got. Because right now you can, like I said last time I was on the radio station, 13 counties in the state passed Amendment 3. Mm-hmm. So that's not, I don't feel that's a direct reflection of the whole state. Population-wise, numbers-wise, yes, they got more votes. But when you only have 13 out of 114 counties pass something, I don't think that's a reflection of the state. So the petition initiative that's up there, there's several of them. The one that I like the most would be the congressional district one. Okay. Basically, we got 8 congressional districts, and 5 of the 8 congressional districts would have to have 51% or more of the votes to pass. So even if you didn't have the majority of the votes, if you had 5 of the 8 have 51% or more, it would be so that way it's fair, for all the whole state to get a voice.
Okay. And if we explain that, and people have always complained about the Electoral College in a federal election, they said, well, that's not fair, Electoral College, because the popular vote wanted this person elected, but the Electoral College, they don't get elected because the Electoral College doesn't allow that to happen because each state has so many votes that they get. So let's, for example, New York and California, you can get a third of all the votes you need to become president in 2 states.
And they would just work them 2 states.
And that's it. And then they would get that. And if they got Ohio, then they've got almost a half.
Yeah.
So if you just have to work 6 or 7 states to get the votes you need to be president by popular vote, then that's all you're going to do. You're not going to represent the United States. You're going to represent the most populated areas. The Electoral College balances that out, so you have to win the different states to get all the votes that you're going to need. Yes, those popular states, the most popular states that have the highest population, are still going to garner more attention because they're still going to get more Electoral College votes out of those states. But you got to have those little 2 and 3 ones. Even the District of Columbia has 2. Yes. Which is crazy because they're not that big. How they ever got 2? I thought maybe 1, but they have 2 Electoral College votes. And and people don't even understand that you can go to Electoral College and they don't even have to vote the way that the state has a majority. They can actually vote on their own. That's a little scary too.
Yeah.
So they're supposed to, but that doesn't mean they will.
By this petition initiative in that particular one, it just makes it to where the whole state kind of like the Electoral College, but we don't, because also right now you just got to go to St. Louis, Kansas City, Columbia, and Springfield to get anything passed
Yeah.
in our Constitution. And, it shouldn't be easy to change. We should be able to change our Constitution if the people will it, right? I have no
Right.
problem with that. But it shouldn't be just certain places in the state get to change it.
But if you go to 80% of the other places in the state and they don't want it, the 20% is telling everybody in the 80 how we're going to do this.
Yeah, well,
I mean, that's what it's saying.
The U.S. Constitution takes, what, 2/3?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so it's 66% to change the Constitution in the U.S., but ours is 51% of the voters. I mean, we don't want to squash the voice of the people by any means, but it shouldn't be so easy for the urban and the back when this was done, the population wasn't so stressed in St. Louis, Kansas. It was, but not like it is now.
Sure.
So our rural areas really need a petition initiative reform to give us a voice back, and I truly believe that. So.
Well, it's amazing when you take a look at that stuff, and here's what we're seeing a lot of too, Ron, and I think that the legislature may need to look at this, is a lot of the people that still want to vote in their old voting districts, say they lived in St. Louis, they're buying a house in Dent County to live in Dent County or Phelps County or Crawford County because they don't want to be out of the city, but they still want to vote in the city. So they're not registering when they go to the small community. They still keep their vote in St. Louis where they feel like they have a better voice. So, I think something needs to be done about that because legally they're not living there 6 months. That's supposed to be their residence.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, it's kind of like Florida, what they call them, snowbirds or something. If you live in 51% of the time in one or the other, you have to designate where you're voting for, and I guess that's up to them to decide. And how does the state regulate that? Usually I would say wherever your driver's license is where you,
Sure.
Your address on that is where you vote. I mean, but we don't use our driver's license for that either.
But a lot of it is, and I know at one time when I did live in St. Louis and I moved down to Dent County, you don't go change your license right away.
Yeah.
And so you're not usually registered to vote. Your license says you're still living in St. Louis, but you're residing in Dent County. And if you go register to vote, you still have that license that says you're still in St. Louis because they don't jive.
But by law, you're supposed to.
I know
5
by
days,
law.
You're supposed to notify the Department of Revenue.
But you know as
move.
well as I do.
Yeah.
If you move somewhere, you're kind of busy when you do move
Yeah,
somewhere.
I know that. I got that.
You're not going to get it done very quickly. And, as I'm just saying, that I think that this can lead to some of these votes that are a little out of control in some of the major areas because there are a lot of people. And I think people seeing a lot of people moving in from out of state here in Dent County and also some of the other rural counties where they want to get away from all that crowding and things of that nature, but yet they don't register to vote in our counties.
Yeah. But no, the end of session's coming up. If you see something, I mean, I try to keep you informed of what's already been done. Hopefully in the future I might be able to say, hey, this is coming. Keep an eye on this. But, when there has 1,100, 1,200, 1,500 bills, usually I don't focus on them until they come in the committee or come to the floor.
Right.
I mean, because I get texts about bills that haven't even been referred yet.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's nothing against that. They're worried about them, but I have no problem with somebody emailing my office about what their process is and how that is, and I try to get back with them if they need it. But if I don't know your thought processes, I can't, I can't put that in my decision-making part. So.
Well, while we have a bag here on, and I'm going to reach for this. I'm going to show it right here. We have been giving away these on our streaming games that we've done for Salem Tiger Sports, and this is a real nice bag. And I'm going to hold it up here, and I'll let the people get a chance to see this. This holds a stadium blanket that you've been very, very kind to allow us to give away at some of our games. And this is a fantastic blanket. Now, I just have the nice little tie bag here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pull the whole blanket
all right.
out and show it. But people can still register to win these in our streaming games that we do carry on KSMO Media, on our KSMORadio.com, KSMO Stream Facebook, or KSMO YouTube pages. And they can register on the radio, too. We'll give people a keyword. They send the keyword in. There's a form on our website at KSMORadio.com. You just go see this insignia, and when you see that, you just go click on the face of the tiger, and it takes you right to the form. And then they can just put their name away that we can contact them, and then the key phrase or word of the day. And we've had some fun, easy ones, but we had some fun ones too. That people just have to fill that word in, and they qualify for the bag. And 4 of them have been given away so far. I think we have, well, I think 5 of them have been given away so far. I think we have 3 left to go.
Well, I think that I'm glad to be able to give back. I think that, I appreciate all the support I've gotten monetarily and whatnot, and how I try to figure out how I can give back to the community, right? And this is a way I can give something back to the community that, that you've given to me, and I can give back. And I saw them and I liked them, and I think they're wonderful. I need to register to win myself, I guess, one of these days, or I just need to buy my own somewhere along the line.
Now, coming up in May, we have a game against Cuba, and we'll actually be giving a bag away for each.
Yep, and I have bags for Cuba. I just got bags for I bought some for Bourbon, and I got some for Steelville that I'll be getting with them too. So I've talked to some boosters in Cuba. They're working with me on that. Steelville, I'm still working with them. In Bourbon, the Bourbon Economic Development Team, I'm going to let them give them away for gifts and in the community. It's just for me a way to give back, and let you guys know that I appreciate what you guys do, and I want to give back. I mean,
Well,
so how do I do that?
Well, it's great. And here's the thing: if you still have bags like next year, we play basketball against Steelville or whatever, because we don't play football against Steelville or Cuba, but we do, or Bourbon to say the least. But we do play basketball, and if we do, we can still do these even during basketball season when we're video streaming those games. But people take advantage of this. These bags are really nice. They're nice and insulated. They're water resistant, and I say weather resistant more than just water. If you get snowed on, they're good too. But they're very comfortable, and they're great for a picnic. You just lay down on them and just have a real nice stadium blanket, and it doesn't cost you a thing except to be watching Salem Tigers or the Salem Tigers and Cuba Wildcats when that game comes together. So if you're watching this and you're from Cuba, you'll get a chance to sign up for that on that day when Salem plays Cuba. I believe it's May 3rd, but don't quote me on that one, okay? But we appreciate that. Well, Ryan, I want to thank you. Any final words for our little get-together today?
I'm just honored to be your rep, and, like I said, if I don't know, I can't help, and I try to get out as much as I can and visit different areas, and we're blessed to have a great community, and, love your sport, and try to keep you informed. If you have questions, please ask. I want to know. If you don't ask, I can't. You don't know the answer. And if you hear a rumor, don't hesitate to contact me to clarify that up, because that's the first thing. I don't want rumors to go down that grapevine. And
you want to give those numbers out in your email as well?
Yeah, my email at the house is it's ron.copeland@house.mo.gov. That's on my webpage, and you can go to house.mo.gov as well, and that'll go straight to the house webpage, and you can find my name and click on that. And all the bills that we've talked about would be there, and you can go through there and look at them as well. My phone number at the office is 573-751-1688. And my Facebook page is State Representative Ron Copeland. You can follow and share on that, and send me a message on Messenger and whatnot like that, and I'll get back with you as soon as I can. I'll try to do that as much as I can.
Always a pleasure to have you in town, sir, and have a chance to sit down with you and kind of get that firsthand information. It's not always easy to get that information.
I just want to give it out, and if you like it or dislike it, at least you have it.
There you go. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Well, Ron, thank you very much, and we hope everybody joins us next time we get together with Representative Ron Copeland on KSMO Media. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.